Okay, so for quiz 2, we have from lecture 3, slide number 22, which is the microscopic parameters. From slide 22, we start the microscopic parameters. So the quiz topics start from there, and they are till lecture 7, which we are doing now, till slide number 17, which is intersection counting studies. Till that, okay. So I'm telling you the topic as well. So if there's any confusion about the slide number, then you can track it with the topics. Okay. Now we are doing the topic of volume studies. Lecture 7 is volume studies. So we have talked about we did some revision. We did some revision about the terms which you already know, the variation in volume, okay, and we know about demand, volume, flow rate, capacity. We did some revision. Then last time we talked about the intersection counting studies, okay, and I mentioned at that time as well. I'm telling you again that I'm trying to include some things from that last lecture, intersection counting studies. Obviously, the questions are randomly selected by the software and given to you, but there are some more chances that you will get at least 1 or 2 things from that lecture. Okay. Now we'll start with limited network study. Up till now, we are talking about doing volume counts at specific locations, at a segment, at an intersection, and so on and so forth. Now we are talking about doing counting for an entire network. Okay, so it's a combination of roads and intersections. It's not one location now. These are multiple locations. Okay, now someone may say that what is the difference between doing it on one location or on 10 locations? There should be no difference. You do it at one location. Today I will do it one location. Tomorrow I will do it another location. Then another location. So doing it for a network is like doing one location 10 times or 20 times. But this is not the case. When you are doing it for a network, the count should be collaborated with each other. You cannot do it one day here, next day there, and the next day there. There should be some similarity between the counts. Okay, so when we are doing the counting for the entire network, we make sure that our timing is matching. Okay, now what do we mean by limited network study? In a limited network study, we are doing volume count for a network of road which is affected by a major traffic generator, a facility which generates significant traffic. Okay, so in a limited network study, volume counting is done for a road network which is affected by a facility which is a major traffic generator, such as, they have given some examples here: airports, sports facilities, gyms, stadiums, okay, shopping malls. Okay, can somebody give me another example apart from these? Hospitals, a big hospital, okay, university. These are all major traffic generators. So there is a specific road network which is affected primarily because of them. We have very good example of the university. Okay, when the classes are going on, the traffic is entirely different on these roads as compared to weekends. Okay, so now the problem with limited network study is, I already mentioned, that you need to match the timing. You cannot do it one day and one day and one day. Okay, even if you do it like this, it will take you many days, because a road network has maybe 100 locations, intersections and segments. Maybe there are 100, 200. For something like an airport, which is a big facility, it can be a very big area. Okay, so that may have many segments and intersections. Okay, so to do on all these intersections and segments together is a very big task. If you do it manually, you need a lot of people. If you do it through sensors, again you need a lot of devices. Okay, so what do? We divide our network into Oh, sorry. Then what do? We basically take a sample of the count which we actually need. Okay. So the client will tell us, or we are, let's say we are the client, we are the ministry. We say that these are the hours of the day which are important for us. Let's say 12 hours of the day. And I need the count for 12 hours on all these 200 locations which are part of the network. Now to do 12-hour count on 200 locations is a very big task. So what do? Instead of doing 12 hours, we take a sample of 12 hours. Okay, so our work becomes less. So we are doing some sampling. Then from that sample, we do some calculations, what they're calling as statistical manipulation, basically meaning some calculation, some very basic calculation, simple, taking ratios and multiplying and so on. So we do some very basic calculation to then come up with the volume map which we want in the end. Okay. Any sample which you take, the basic assumption when you have a sample, the basic assumption is whatever the sample is showing, the actual data has the same trend. You take a speed samples. Okay, you took speed samples, right? And you are telling me in free flow conditions, the mean speed is 50 miles per hour. And what is my assumption? Even if somebody went and took the data for all vehicles, not a sample, I will still get the mean of 50 miles per hour. Same. Okay, so this is an assumption behind every sample. Okay, they do sampling when they are doing this, quality assurance and so on. So they take sample again. They don't look for all the students. Okay, so the students who are very good, quote unquote, very, very good, we hide them. Okay, and no, you take the samples for each one of them. Okay, but you get the point. Okay, a sample should be a true representation of the actual data. Sample is showing volume 2000, and somebody else goes on some other day and he finds 200. That's not correct. Okay, there's a very big difference now. A small difference, we know there will be small difference, but this is very big. Okay, so sample is a representation of the actual data. Now the problem with the roads are that they are different from each other. This part of the network which is in, let's say, a commercial area will not be the same as another part of the same network which is in a residential area. They will be different, right? So sometimes we make sub portions of the required network. I have a required network which is, let's say, has 200 locations. Out of these 200 locations, some of them are in a different area, some of them are a different highway, and so on and so forth. So I can divide the network into smaller parts, and sample will be taken for each small part. So they are not. So this sample is for this portion of the road only. This sample is only for this portion of the road. Otherwise, your assumption will not be correct. If you take sample from this portion and try to match it with the residential area, it will not match. Okay, so to make sure that the sample is a true representation of the area, you may break down the network into small portions. And for each portion, I will collect a different or a separate sample. Okay, so they call them sub-portions. In each sub-portion, we have two types of counts. For each sample, let's say, we are doing two types of countings: control counts and coverage counts. Control counts and coverage counts. So in each portion, I have some locations which are coverage counts, and I have some locations on which I'm doing control counts. What does it mean? A control count is taken for the entire period of the study. Okay, you need 12 hours. Control count is taken for 12 hours. You need 24 hours. Control count is taken for 24 hours, and so on. Okay, so they are So they will show you the complete variation of demand. What is happening in the first hour, second hour, third hour, and so on. Okay, so control, because we have the data is complete, right? When data is complete, I can see what is happening each hour and each day and so on. If we need data for 7 days, control count is for 7 days. So I can see the variation each day there. Coverage count, the data is taken a portion of the required period. You need data for 12 hours. Out of the same 12 hours, I may be taking data for 1 or 2 hours. It's up to me. We decide. I need data for 7 days. Out of the 7 days, I may spend 1 day on each coverage location, for each coverage count. Got my point? Okay. So on control count, complete data. Coverage count, portion of the data. Okay. So obviously, if you try to collect data, full data, if you make all locations as coverage counts, you need a lot of resources, a lot of people. So if you have 200 locations, and like I give the example, 12 hours on all 200 locations, you need many people. But out of these 200, I'm saying, let's say 20 will be controlled. So I will collect 12 hours data only on 20. For the remaining, maybe 2 hours. So it's easier, right? Now 180 location, I need only 2 hours. So it will be much easier. Okay, and we can manage it in different ways. You will see it. Okay, there are some guidelines on how many control counts and coverage counts we should have. Okay, first of all, the ratio for in each sample. Now remember, what did I say? Each sample can be for a different portion of the data, portion of the network. The network is divided in different portions, and each portion has its own sample. Okay, so in each sample, the ratio of control to coverage count should not be more than 1:20. Which one is 1? Which one is 20? Control or coverage?
The control is 1 and the coverage.
Control is less, coverage is more. How many more? 1:20. For each control count, you can go up to 20 coverage counts. Got it? Then they are basically telling you about the sample. Okay, how do we separate the samples? Okay, so they are saying for each type of highway, get a different sample. How many types of highways we have? Local, RT, collector. Okay, so your network can have all of them, right? So treat each one as a separate sample. And then they are saying for each land use, collect a different sample. Now, what do we mean by land use? What is happening in that area? So what happens in this area? Fun, huh? What? Education area. Everybody agrees, right? Everybody agrees. Okay. So education area, and then in the same network you may have a residential area. In the same network you may have a commercial area. So from each area collect a different sample. A different sample means what? In each area I will have some control counts and coverage counts. On each type of highway I will have some control counts, coverage counts. Got it? So each type of highway and each land use will make its own portion of the network. Got it? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. We do not do counting for this. For limited network study, we do not do counting at intersections. We do it at mid blocks. Mid block is between the intersections. Something which I told you guys to do for your term project. Do it away from that. As simple as that. Mid block is just a term. It's an American term which means in the segment. That's it. Okay. It doesn't have to be in the mid exactly. But away from that intersection. Got it? Why not the intersection? Because what happens at the intersection? You we stop, and what else? Stopping is not a problem. Delay is also not a problem. We are doing volume study. I can still count If the car is stopped and then move, I don't mind. But on intersection, what happens? No. Yeah, it happens. Yeah. This is not the problem. On intersection, you have multiple options for going in different directions, right? So I am trying to count people who are passing this point. I count a guy and he takes a U-turn. Or I count someone and he takes a right turn and that street is coming back to the area. You see the problem? I say this guy went out of the network, but he didn't. He took a turn and he came back. Okay, so this is not good for us. So we do it at mid blocks. So I know he's either leaving or coming back. That's it. There's no other option. Okay, so mid block, and again, then you need less people, right? Doing it on 100 segments is much easier than doing it on 60 intersections, let me tell you. Because 60 intersections means what? Each intersection has 4 directions. Okay, so 4 into 60 is 240. And 100 means what? 100 segments means what? 100 into 2 directions, right? 200. Okay, so mid block more accurate because you know the person is going or coming, and you need less people. Okay, so we only do it at mid blocks. And the third point is that we are doing it at mid blocks, but we have to do it at all mid blocks. We are leaving all the intersections out, but we have to do it on all the remaining segments now. That's my point. There should not be any segment in your network where you did not do the counting at all. All segments must have a count. Either what counts we have? Control or coverage. It's up to you which one you want to make what. Which location you want to make coverage, which location you want to make count. It's up to you. Okay, but you cannot leave it. You will not say, okay, I have 200, I'll make 100 of them as coverage, I'll make 20 of them as control, and the remaining I will leave. No, it's not possible. Okay, now let's say your client is like your teacher. Okay, so he tells you something in the time of study, and when you submit the report, meaning the exam time, he gives you something which we never discussed in the class. So he says, now I need the intersection count as well. For this study, you don't do the intersection count. Now he needs the intersection count. What do I do? How do I give him the intersection count? I go back and do the study again. And remember, we are talking about the entire network. When he says I need the intersection count, he may be talking about 50 actual locations. And each location has multiple directions. What do I do? What do I do then? This is the intersection, right? And what did I say earlier? You have to cover all mid blocks. So if you ask for the intersection, covered. Already covered. I just take the volume from different directions, I will give it to them. Simple? Okay. This is what they do in basically in the ministry as well. They take continuous volume for highways. We will come to that topic later on. Okay. For the main highways, they do continuous volume count. They may do it for, you may have the volume for the entire year. For intersection, they do it sometimes. But along the way, if they need it urgently, they won't wait for the study. Okay, I have it for this highway, this highway, this highway. Intersection approximately has this much. It can give you an idea about the total. Okay. For example, this is our university. We are doing a limited network study for the campus. So this entire area is affected by the campus. Okay. So if I have to divide into portions, if I have to divide this area into portions, we know this is what? Which area is it? What type of area is it? Education. You sleep here. Huh? And what do we have on the other side? What is on the other side?
Commercial.
It's a commercial area. Looks like it's residential. Anyways, but we have some. This is the residential basically. I would say commercial is on that side, the Isa town side. Okay, and there we have, and here on this side we have the stadium and so on. So I guess it's entirely different, right?
Yeah.
You cannot match that one with this one. You cannot match this one with this one. So it's different. I told you, even this one, this is stadium. Stadium itself is a traffic generator. Okay, so we have at least 4 different types of areas, 4 different types of land uses. And then what else did you say about the highways? So we have different types of highways, right? These are all what? Local streets. Now this is what? 16 December. Arterial?
Yeah.
Arterial? Collector arterial, something like this, huh? And what about this one? Which highway is this? It's an arterial, right? But what's the name of the highway? Some people have taken it for their toponyms. Even they don't know the name. Anyways, the old name was the Taklad Highway. The old name. It's not the same. No, that above is this one. The one up. This one. This is the main road. So they changed this name. It was not a name, it was a number. 411 something. This one was Taklad. They changed the names so that I know you guys are copying from the previous semester. I asked them to do that. Next year I will ask them to change some other names. And the good thing is, when they change the name, it doesn't appear in Google. You can check it, doesn't appear. Anyways, so now you see what we will do. I will take a sample here, educational area. And within the educational area, I'll have some samples along this road, coverage and control counts, and I'll have some samples along these streets, coverage and control counts. Okay. Similarly, same thing here. I will see which type of highways I have. This is an arterial. Some samples along these, control coverage. These are local streets. Some samples here. Again, control and coverage, and so on and so forth. You get my point now? Just an example, how do we come up with the control and coverage calculator? First of all, you need to select the network. How big is my network? Okay, and then from this network, you have to identify portions. This area is what, this highway is which side, and so on and so forth. Got it? And then when you identify it, then you can do the sampling. Okay. This is example of a sample which is taken for 7 locations. You can see 7 mid blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then location A. These are what? 7 mid blocks. We say what? We don't do the intersections, we only do it on the mid blocks. So all mid blocks covered. 1 mid blocks are covered. Okay. A is what? A is a control point. So on location A, I get control count. So out of 7, they said on A, I will do control count. So whatever count I need, or whatever period the counting is required, I will do it on A, complete. For the other 6 locations, I'll take a sample. Okay, understood the network? Network is clear? So I did what? I had 7 segments. I selected 1 control, other for coverage. Okay. Now, according to whatever is required, I will select my timings. timing for each point. I will select it according to what the client is asking me. Okay, and the client is not a good man. You will see it. Okay. Here he is saying take data for these 8 hours on any typical weekday. Go on any typical weekday, normal typical weekday. Okay, so there are weekdays which are not typical, right? For example, Tuesday. This Tuesday, it's a weekday, but it's not normal because it was a holiday. So typical means where things are moving as per routine. Typical weekday. And I think I mentioned in the last lecture as well. Even the first weekday is not considered normal, even if there was no holiday and so on. So for us, Sunday and even Thursday is not considered typical weekday. Typical is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. For them, typical is what? Tuesday. No? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. First and last not included. Anyways. So now the consultant who will do this study has two teams. Okay. So at one point, at one time, he can only do the study at 2 locations. He can only do the study simultaneously at 2 locations. He has only enough people or enough devices for 2 locations. Whatever he is using is only enough for 2 locations. Now, one of these 2 locations will be which one? Control. Well, you said what? Control is required for the full time, right? So one team is busy. I cannot take them out because the data is for full time. The other team, how many other locations I have? 6 locations. How much data I need for how many hours? 8 hours. Now we said what? In these 6 locations, we will take a sample, right? So I will not take 8 hours data on the remaining 6 locations. So that remaining one team will take a sample from each of these 6 locations. Clear? Now it's up to me. I will decide the sample should be how long. Okay, I can say a sample should be only half an hour long. It's enough. I can say sample should be 1 hour long. Enough. I can say sample should be 2 hours long. What do you say about that?
No, because they will not cover all the.
If I say 2 hours, then I need for 6 locations 12 hours. So then I will do extra work. I don't need to do it. Okay. I can do 1.5 maybe. 1.5 into 6 is what? How much? 9. 1.5 is also not possible. Okay. So 1 hour is possible, right? If I do 1 hour, I will complete all the 6 locations in 6 hours, which is enough. Okay. So this is what they did. But keep in mind, this is not fixed. This 1 hour is not fixed. Somebody may come and say, I will do it for 45 minutes. It's fine. He's completing it in 8 hours, it's fine. Okay. So first 2 columns, data of control count. Last 3 columns, data of coverage counts. So on control count, you say you can see the data is I have data for each hour and the time and the value. For the coverage, each location has data of 1 hour. Each location has data of 1 hour. Okay. Now, for how many hours I actually need the data? 8. Control count, no problem, right? Control count, I need 8 hours, I have 8 hours. Coverage count, I need 8 hours, I have 1 hour. So I need to convert this 1 into 8. Okay. For that, I will use the factors from control location, control counts. Keep in mind, whenever we are doing limited network study or any network study, you need some factors. Those factors will come from control count only. Okay. Any factors you need in a network study those factors will come from control count only. Factors. Okay. So for calculating these factors, I need the total 8-hour count on location A. Give it to me. Total. How much is the total?
$7,067.
Okay. It's coming. It's good. See this? Okay. So 7067, right? Now we will calculate factor for each hour. For each hour, we will calculate a factor. That factor is known as expansion factor. Stop. Doesn't like my voice. Now it does. Okay. Since the proof is my own laptop and it has been with me for too long. Okay. So we will calculate expansion factors. What are expansion factors? The count of each hour upon the total. Okay, so for each hour I will have expansion factor. Okay, give me the expansion factors.
Over the total.
Over the total, 7067, which you told me. So for the first one, let's say it will be 825 upon 7067.
0.1167.
Okay, next one for that hour.
0.115. 0.12.
0.137. 0.4.
0.14.
0.16.
0.18.
0.04.
What are these expansion factors? This is basically the proportion of traffic which comes in this hour, right? So out of the total, the first hour has 12%, second hour has 12%, third hour has 13%, and so on. Okay. For the other locations, I have the traffic of that hour, and now I know this traffic is how much of the total. For example, location 1, 12 to 1, and the traffic is 840. Now this data, the control count data tells me that this 840 should be 12% of the total. Okay, so I know 840 is 12% of the total. So how much is the total?
Multiply the 88%. Or just do 1 over the number.
Yeah. Just do that. Okay. We divide, huh? We divide. Okay, tell me. So now we are calculating what? After you divide, it will become 12 hours, right? Total.
$10,000. 5,208.
For each hour a different factor, huh? 5,000.
208.
And the traffic of that location?
Yeah.
625 one. Okay.
The third is 4,615.
How much?
4,615. 2,785.
Location 4, 390 upon
1 over 0.1.
0.15.
The sixth is 8,100.
One two one five upon 0.16, right?
9,000.
Which one?
The last one.
Clear? Any questions?
6
You look at the hour, which hour the value was taken. If there is an hour in which the value was not taken, you don't use its factor. So the hour 3 to 4, we didn't use the factor. The last one, 7 to 8, there is no value, we don't use the factor. Okay? Yeah? Okay. If somebody asks you, which one out of these 8 hours is the peak hour? First question, from which location you will know it? Which location will tell you the peak hour? Location A, because for the other locations, I don't have hourly data. I cannot know which one is the peak hour, which one is not. Got it? Clear now? Now, looking at location A, which one is the peak hour? 5 to 6. Now, somebody asks you, what is the peak hour volume? For location A, I know, because I took it. For other locations, what would I do? If somebody asks you what is the peak hour volume at location 1 and 2 and 3, what would you do?
I use the coefficients.
You use the coefficients how?
I take the largest coefficients and multiply it with the hourly count.
Yes, the largest coefficient is for the peak hour, right? The largest coefficient is for the peak hour. Now I know the total, and they are asking you how much of this total is coming in the peak hour. So I already have the factor for the peak hour. I know in the peak hour 16% of total comes. For each location, I already have the total. I will calculate 16% of each one of them. This will be the peak hour volume. Got it? Clear? Okay, tell me the peak hour volume for each one of them. Now the factor will not change, huh? Because the factor is for the peak hour.
It is 0.16.
0.16.
The first one is 1120. Second is 833. Seven, 3, 8. 4, 4, 5. 1, 2, 9, 6. Not the last one, the fifth one.
Why?
16.6.
Why did I write 1215? Why did I write 1215? Look at the location.
Yeah, because
It's in the peak hour. Okay? So it's like a check. You should be getting the same answer. I took the data in the peak hour, 5 to 6 is the peak hour. So that I should get the same value. Okay, the last one.
1440.
No? What happened?
I think we
Total multiplied by 0.16. How much?
yeah. So it's 9,000 multiplied by 0.16. 1440. I think we have a mistake.
Not me, you.
Yeah,
Okay, what did you do?
I had a mistake.
1440 divided by 0.13.
Eight, 7, 6, 9.
And peak hour?
1403. 1403.
Multiplied by 0.16, right? Clear? Any questions?
How is the peak hour? Just and difference.
Huh?
How is the peak hour of
Or
the
which location?
last location?
There's a problem. Should be that, should not be less. 1440 divided by 0.13.
So I got other value for this, the second one. The first three, okay, then
Tell me the values.
for the last one, I got 11,076.
1440 divided by 0.13, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 11,000
076.
multiplied by 0.16, how much?
1772.
1772. What about this one? So it was 1215 divided by 0.16.
7592.
7593. Okay, then 390 divided by 0.15.
2,600.
And you're saying these values are correct. You didn't account for the missing time.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions? Clear? Okay. As I told you, the client is not a good person. He keeps on changing his mind. Now he's saying that I want average weekday count for these 8 hours. Right now what he was saying, any typical weekday. Now he's saying, give me average of the weekday. Now average cannot be calculated from one day, right? I need multiple days. Now right now he's saying, okay, average. Now statistically, average should be for at least 3 values. Remember, like, keep it as a note it down as a rule. Whenever you're calculating averages, should be at least for 3 values. So we should do it at least for 3 days. Okay. Again, same poor consultant who has only 2 teams. Out of these 2 teams, one where? One is counting, the other one is in the restaurant, right?
I forgot the name of
The control.
Yeah.
One is at the control. You In Pakistan, I used to take students out for doing the traffic survey. We used to arrange for the bus, we used to go there. So obviously, I would not stand with them for the entire time, right? So as soon as I did this, there was one team who set up their coverage count in the restaurant. Literally. Okay? And they moved like this, and half of the team is gone. So now one is at the control, the other one at the coverage. He said we need at least 3 days, right? On each day I need a count for how many hours? 8 hours. Okay. Now 3 days, 8 hours. I need to divide them for sampling for the coverage locations. So what did they do? They okay. So they are taking the entire week here. I was talking about the next example. Okay. So they are saying average. Okay. So now what they are doing? We have how many locations? Coverage locations? 6. 6 coverage locations. We will spend 1 day on each location. We take a sample of 1 day on each location. So to cover 6 days, I need how many? To cover 6 locations, I need how many days? 6 days, right? And on these 6 days, coverage count is on each location, and the control count team is there. So for control count, we have 6 days of data. You can see there, 6 days of data. For the coverage count, I have 1 day of data, 1 day on each location. So on the first Monday, they were on location 1. Second Monday, Tuesday, they were on location 2. But in all these days, there was one team which was at the location. Okay, now here the problem is different. We are trying to calculate what? Average. So again, calculating average for control, no problem. If I'm trying to calculate average for control count, there is no problem. Right? What about the coverage count? Can I calculate average for each location? No, because for each location I have one value. So here, in the previous example, I had 1 hour. I was trying to expand it into 8 hours. Here I have one value. I'm trying to adjust it into an average. Average of how many hours? 8 hours, right? So in the previous example, it was for less time. I was trying to expand it. Here it is one value. I'm trying to just adjust this one value to get the average. Got it? These are different. Okay. First of all, let us calculate average for the control location. Simple. Give me the average. Now 6 values. We can calculate the average, no problem. $7,350. Now, for this example, we will calculate adjustment factors. Adjustment factor is also a ratio. Adjustment factor is also a ratio. The ratio between the count we have and the average. The count upon the it's a reverse. The average upon the count. The average upon the count. So for example, you want expansion factor for the first Monday, it will be 7350 upon 7000. Okay. So for each day, I will have an adjustment factor. Give me the factor. $1.05.
0.95.
0.95. Same.
0.875.
Okay.
0.0.
Huh?
1.0. Uh, 1.17.
Okay. Now each factor is a ratio of average upon the count, right? For the other locations, what do I have? I have other locations, other 6 locations. For the other 6, the last 3 columns. What do I have? For the first location, I have the count of Monday. And I'm trying to calculate what? Average. So I have the factor and I have the count. I'm looking for average. So what do? I take the factor, multiply with the count, I get the average. Got it? Check the values. Again, factor for each day, the respective day.
0.890.
For each day, different count and different factor.
5700. 6248.
7,800 multiplied by 1.05.
8190. 631.
Any questions? Clear? Okay. So one example we use the expansion factor, the other example we use the adjustment factor. Keep one thing in mind. The time duration, the number of locations will vary from one case to another case. First example, expanding 1 hour into 8 hours, right? It may be 2 hours into 6 hours. It can be. In this case, average was calculated for 6 days. In another example, average can be for 5 days, no problem. So try to keep the method in your mind, the approach, okay? Timing is varying, the number of points, again, very good. In this location, this case, I have 6 coverage. Another can be 10. Okay, so these things are not constant. That's why there are no equations. And there is no fixed rule that you have to collect 1 hour data on each location. There is no rule like this. Okay, clear or not? Okay, so we have another variation of this example. Okay, in which we will do both. So I will not do it now. So we'll do it after the quiz. Okay, but I will send you some practice questions as I mentioned earlier. Okay, and inshallah one of them will be coming in the exam. Final exam. Okay. So thank you. If you take a picture, you can post it in your group. Okay, picture of the board, you can post it in the group.